Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Don't say good morning to me. You should know this by now. I've said it 50 fucking times on the YouTube. I get a cold pull up my ass when I hear good morning from my experience in the military, because it was never good. Did my wife give you a good blowjob last night? But you don't like my wife? You don't? No matter how you answered it was wrong. So to this day, 50 some years later, I still don't like hearing good morning. This week will be transformative. Even for would you please put your coat on? Your coat. No, you. You have a coat? You didn't come with a coat. Okay, as soon as I get done talking, go get it. You already know that if you want a friend, you came to the wrong place. How's your doctor wife? You. Fine? Okay. No, I didn't sleep with her. I just remember his wife was a doctor. And he asked several stupid questions during the seminar. Now, we've done some research, and we have data which I'll share with you during the week, trying to figure out of the participants, some of you have already been pretty successful. Why? Okay? It's the only time I ever ask why. I only want to know how. So we went back and did some data, or some research on some data, or I did. Actually, my crack staff didn't do it. I did it. You're going to go through, there's 5 groups. We will announce who the head of those groups are tomorrow. And I will give you the breakdown of what a day looks like tomorrow morning, or not now. Every night you will have, instead of written homework as you did during the regular seminar, you'll have homework to see, and then you will pontificate upon it tomorrow and every morning thereafter. One of the things you're going to see tonight, is it tonight, EJ, that we're going to see David? Tomorrow, okay. David Pham, full disclosure, I'm his chairman, who came to the seminar last month. I guess that's his 3rd time. He was able to get wealthy breaking not every rule, almost every single rule that I tell you not to do. Not every, but almost every. And he came and he stood right there and he explained, and now you wouldn't feel sorry for him. He has a castle down the road. He's my neighbor. He's bought hotels. He's bought dental practices. God knows what else. But he came back because he realizes what he might have done if he had followed the steps a little more carefully. I think he only followed, I'm not sure he followed any of the steps. But he still got rich. And most people that come here, their primary goal, aside from saving the world, is you want to get wealthy. And then it's up to you what you do with the money, right? Okay. I just want you to get wealthy so I can count the numbers. So I want as big a numbers as possible. And then if you want to go save the world, God bless you. Allah bless you, whoever blesses you. But we're going to see him tomorrow because it's important. He gets up here for 35 or 40 minutes and he talks about the difficulties he had and why, though he was successful with dental practice, he stopped. Why he was successful with this, he stopped. And we call it self-sabotaging activities, which I've beat my chest on for 29 years. So even when he was on the right path, he couldn't stay on the right path too long before he had to step on his dick. Now, some of you in this room, in fact, all of you in this room can relate to some small part of what he's going to talk about tomorrow. Because you may have not every day looked for a way to not succeed, but you have certainly been out in the real world long enough to know what it takes not to succeed. And succeeding is harder than not succeeding because not succeeding is your old default, your old habits. And I was surprised when I asked him to talk. He says, you don't want me to tell him. Now, he didn't ask, but you want me to lie. But you don't want me to tell him. Yeah, I do. I want you to, not from the heart, but from wherever, because I want the guys and gals to know that it's hard. It's a motherfucker. It just is. And, a few of you in here have been successful. Not as successful as you could have been or as successful as you will be leaving here. And, but when he left hardcore a couple years ago, He accomplished a whole bunch of things almost overnight, like buying a big castle with a big estate down the road with no money. And he did all these things with no money. Some of you, if I were to ask you, but I don't do that anymore, how many of you have looked outside the scope of QLA for finance? At least half of you in this room. I don't have to ask you. I know. As soon as you call Kim and you talk about mezz financing, what the fuck are you talking about mezzanine finance for? We don't need that. Not at least half of you have gone outside the auspices of the QLA model. You've been asked at least, this is a Trump exaggeration, 1,000 times, where are you getting the equity? Maybe not 1,000 times, but a bunch of times, okay? And you have an answer for that, but you don't use that answer. Directly or indirectly through our board and or professionals, accountants and lawyers. There's not 5 of you in this fucking room that did that. Because you're afraid of the next question. Well, exactly how are you getting the fucking equity? The people that have succeeded in this room and the people that have succeeded in 2022 have followed the steps, generally speaking, but they've practiced. You've heard Andres Milner up here during your seminars and a little bit on YouTube that he practiced. Now, you guys probably wrongfully said he practiced because his communication skills are poor. No. He practiced because he wanted his communication skills to get better. Not that they were poor. And so now, 3 years later, he's sitting on about 100 million euros, more or less. If I cheat you a little there, Andres. But he, today, in the 29 and a half years that I've been doing this, is the most accurate vis-a-vis following the steps. He's about 95% of the program he followed. Not 100, but 95. And he got up here, and and he said, what I regret is that I waited 5 years to come here. What could I have done if I'd come straight away instead of analyzing it like a German? That's his regret. He said, what if I had just come 2 years earlier? Earlier this year, he was looking at an 8 million euro house on a lake, like all good Nazis, because that's where Hitler was, on a lake. I don't know what, 8 million. I've got at least that many people that are looking at 8 million, either dollars, pounds, or euros houses. I don't know what 8's so special about 8. On a lake. I've lived on a lake. Mosquitoes that fucking big. But anyway, so that's one of his regrets. When Peter Haraszti, who's now the largest independent healthcare owner in Hungary, he's another 8 million guy on a lake. But anyway, he says that, although he pulled the trigger pretty fast, he waited some period of time before he came here. And then on his own nickel, he came here earlier this year, I believe it was in May, to talk to you guys that were there and explain, one, how he's grateful, and I appreciate that. But the most important thing to him in the 7 steps was his building his personal foundation. He was a pleaser, like many of you. He would rather be liked than effective, like many of you. And to this day, and he stood right there at that end of the stage and said, I still would rather be liked. Now, here's a guy who's built a fucking empire, who still wants to be liked. Not as much as he used to, but he certainly still wants to be liked. It still bothers him when people say not nice things about him. God, I was thinking about that when I was shaving this evening. If that had stopped me, when the first time somebody didn't say something nice about me, I would have never got past the 3rd or 4th grade. Meaning I was about 7 or 8 or 9, something like that. But one of the things that my father hammered into my head physically was, it's not what they say about you, Dan, it's how you interpret. And some of you in this room, not just this room, but all the rooms, still interpret at a higher level than you should what other people say. Now, if Elon Musk says you're a moron, there's a high probability you're a fucking moron. If Warren the Buffett says you're a fucking idiot, there's a high probability that you're an idiot. And since some of you were last year, Sally and I had the privilege of attending the Berkshire Hathaway deal, and I hope they live forever, but Warren and Charlie look old in person. And I'm being kind when I say that. They look old. But it's interesting, of the 20, 30,000 people or so that are in the building, every 50 feet there's an armed guard with an automatic weapon or a pistol. And some are off-duty sheriff, off-duty highway patrol, off-duty. Now, that's the last place I would have thought that you need armed guards. And if you say something against Warren, Berkshire Hathaway, or his legacy, I mean, it's like a riot. They want to rip your clothes off, rip your arms off. And the people that were voting, dissenting, or abstaining from the vote aren't even in the same room. There's another auditorium 2 or 3 miles away with armed guards where if you don't want to vote for what Warren, you in another building a mile away because for your safety. I never, he's supposed to be the old Santa Claus of finance. But on the business side, I know he's hard as nails. And the people that are the most successful realize you're in awe of Steve Jobs for changing the world. Some of you may be in awe of Elon Musk, who's the current flavor of the day. Some of you may be in awe of some of the other luminaries. But they were all ruthless bastards. You want the wealth, but you don't want to be a ruthless bastard. I've had maybe that many people in 29 years that want to be a ruthless bastard. Maybe not. Maybe that many. Maybe that many. But you wouldn't mind changing the world like Steve did, right? You wouldn't mind having the crumbs off of Elon Musk's table. So there's a dichotomy. And I've been preaching it for 29 and a half years. Unfortunately, I've never been a pleaser. Unfortunately, I've never, I've been saying since before I was ever this, when I was on Wall Street, if you want a friend, buy a fucking dog. I was saying that before I coached one person. Sally believes that you can't have a family without 2 bulldogs. We have 2 puppy bulldogs, and we have 1 puppy Great Dane and 1 full-grown Great Dane. So, but we fill in some of the blanks that we don't cover during the seminar. But we've got a young man here that before he came to his first seminar a month ago or a month and a half ago, he had already done, I believe, 14 or 16 deals, right? 17, and now you're up to 20, okay, in a year, right? I read all this shit you send me. He used to sit over there. He's trying to make me dizzy because he's sitting on the other side now. And we have other people in the room, like what I call the Belgian waffle, affectionately. He doesn't, I asked your brother, he didn't answer me, by the way. His brother was here a couple months ago. How does he like being called the Belgian waffle? Your brother didn't say. He just sat there stoically. He didn't say. So, and tomorrow we're going to talk about a family. 6 people have come to the seminar in the last year. 6. Okay? 3 brothers, a sister, and 2 significant others. I think that maybe that's 7. 3. Oh, well, anyway, 6 or 7. Because they've seen that one of their siblings has gotten rich. And they didn't tell me this, but I think they think he's the weak link in the family. And if the fucking weak link in the family can get rich, then that should mean all the others should get rich. And so they're all come to the seminar. And I'm told next year the parents are coming too. But right now the parents are on a worldwide cruise because the rich kid paid for a worldwide cruise for them to go on. For those of you that have made some money, you realize you can do some extraordinary things. Unfortunately, not all good, but for the most part. You've already heard no cell phones. If you need to talk during the breaks. You're going to be in 5 different parts of the castle. One group will be here, and the other 4 will be around the castle in the various other buildings. And I will trot around and listen to you and how you're doing on the cases. Each one of you bought at least 2 cases. A couple of you bought 3 cases. Plus, we have a plethora of other B school cases that we will go through, all of them. I find it ironic. Our youngest son went to one of the better business schools, and we cover in 7 days what he covered in 2 years. So that begs the question, what are you paying for when you go to these schools? Well, I can tell you, and it's not too flattering. Any questions, generally speaking, about anything? Okay, Duncan, hit it. And remember, the women sit down and you stand, in case you have forgotten. Okay.